But, yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, folks. The opposite of a free peacemaker, a well-wisher that is a paid protester, a paid instigator. We got a lot of those now. That's what Antifa is. All these, so many of the Black Lives Matter movement, Antifa. I don't know about La Raza, anybody. That's a racist organization. I mean, if they believe their race, Latino, is better than whites and blacks and Asians, I mean, on its face, that's racist. The race. I mean, what if there was a white party doing that? We're the race, and it was all white people. I mean, who wouldn't call them white supremacists, right? So, I mean, Black Lives Matter, of course they do. Just like Asian lives, yellow lives, red lives, white lives, and brown lives. Middle Easterners and Latinos. Every life matters equally. We're one family. We have the same blood. We have one set of parents, the Almighty Creator God, our owner. And we're to live as brothers and sisters like one family. Humankind has been mortally stupefied by the magnitude, the power, the stamina, the resolve of the beast system and the representatives of the beast system and the fraudsters, the puppets of Satan, who is behind the curtain, making reference to the Wizard of Oz, right? That's who it is. It's the spirit thereof. I mean, they talking literal devil and all this. Look. It doesn't matter. But it's that spirit of betrayal and deception and delusion, madness, okay? That's who's pulling the strings. That's who's really in control of humanity. That's creating the policies and shoving them down our throats that they want. They're trying to manipulate us and trying to mold us into their image and likeness, okay? Brute beasts. That's all we're going to be. Unthinking brute beasts that are just good biological automatons for their purposes. And when we stop serving those purposes, they feel 100% justified in committing genocide on us. And that's their program. That's what they're really after. The Bible spells this out. Jesus said, look, unless I cut the time short when I'm going to return, there'd be no flesh left alive. I mean, if these people get their way, if Satan got his way and all the proponents of Satanism therein, winning or not, that's it. You don't have to be winning. You just have to go along with the program. Get the mark of the beast, all this kind of crap, okay, to be an enemy of God and to go along with a genocidal agenda, okay? There'd be no flesh left alive. That's what they would like, okay? Even the evil, they don't care. A lot of these people are suicidal. They hate their lives. They hate the idea that good is finally going to kick their butt and that they're being exposed. They hate it. So they're like kamikaze pilots. They just as soon destroy themselves. If that's the way it's going to be, if that's what's going to happen, if the worm's really going to turn, if we're going to change the trajectory we've been going on, then they don't want any part of it. Then they'll hate their lives in the world. They'd hate their lives in an ideal world, a heaven on earth, a paradise, a utopia. They don't want that. They don't want a world where they don't have the advantage over others. They're haters of humanity. They don't want us to be free. They don't want us to be secure. They don't want us to be prosperous. They don't want us to be happy. They want the opposite. They want to make us more miserable than them. And man, that's a deep well, because these are some miserable actors, okay? They have to be. You can't go against your owner, the very owner of your soul, not just your body, and find happiness of any kind. It is the most pseudo happiness you could ever find, okay? And that's what they find, is that pseudo happiness in finding, success in this world. I'm a high-ranking politician. I'm a successful and famous and actor. I'm somebody in this world, okay? If you're not in the side of God, then you're not. Sometimes you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And the conscience wants what the conscience wants. So, as much as we're all stuck between a rock and a hard spot, got to keep fighting, struggling to get out from between a rock and a hard spot. And the direction I'm always telling people to go is with your heart, okay, with your conscience, with your integrity, your honor, your soul. Basically, don't ever compromise, not a farthing, not an iota, not a modicum of your soul, okay? That's where your honor is. That's where your integrity is. And that's what's going to get you to the other side. The other side is inheriting a renewed earth, a perfect world. That's the promises. At least fight for it. I mean, however long that place takes to arrive at, we need to all be willing to go there. And if you're not, then you're by default, you're saying, no, I'd rather go to hell and be down there with all these evil people and the demons with the weeping and the gnashing of the teeth and all that crap. I sure as hell don't want to be there. All these people with blood-covered hands. I'm trying to save people from going there. I'm trying to warn people, be the good watchman on the tower, because I don't want anybody's blood on my hands or on my head. So I'm compelled to speak out, to do something. I cannot sit on my laurels and do nothing. This is serious stuff about literal salvation of the soul, man. The manner in which people drive their cars is very telltale, very indicative to where they are spiritually. I think I talked about that last week, but yeah, it really is. I mean, you can really tell about it. And if you examine your own heart, your own mind when you're driving your car, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about here. It's tough. It's a sticky wicket. You're out there, let's say you're trying to be the best driver in the whole world, the nicest driver in the world, okay? You're still going to piss somebody off, okay? If somebody's waiting in traffic and the light turns green and somebody's waiting to come in and you say, well, I've got the right of way, I don't have to let you in, and the guy behind me is chomping at the bit saying, no, go, you got the right of way, go, don't let him in, he's cutting in line, right? Am I right? You understand? So that's how living life is. You're going to offend people. It's like Jesus told the parable about, you offend people without even knowing it. These hypocrites that people don't even know they're offending them without even knowing it. They're walking on tombs, but these people are a brood of vipers. You see, we're all like that. We all have an inclination, a propensity to be evil if we don't keep ourselves in check. And it's tough. It's tough being human. And when you drive your car, you get an idea of how your mind works and how you need to live life. And we need a great deal of sensitivity, a great deal of tact, and we need to turn to God for the wherewithal, the capability, the ability to cope and contend with it. It's serious business because it's going to affect your happiness. It's going to affect my happiness. It's going to affect everybody's happiness. We need to care. We need a great deal of sensitivity, not just a modicum of sensitivity. When it comes into contending with these things and explaining them to others so that we can move on and we can evolve, we can grow as a species, as a race, as a so-called civilized society, to be the people we want to be, the people we like, to really be a family that's living for not just some people, but for everybody, So, anyhow, promote and cultivate unity through peace, love, and understanding, and deny, defy, and destroy division by rejecting animus, hatred, and violence, for God's sake and for our sake. Ignorance is bliss is another big fat lie from the pit of hell. Willfully imposed ignorance of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, is a ticket to Hades. It's tough to be respectful to the disrespectful, But that's what decent people are called on to do. It's part of carrying the cross of God and man. But at the same time, not to be a doormat for either. And not to throw your pearls before swine. I think that's pretty much what that saying means. Jesus taught that, don't throw your pearls before swine. You can't compromise your own integrity in trying to reach people. You do your very best, your genuine, sincerest best to reach people. But beyond that, you can't beat your head against the wall. You can't cut off your nose to spite your face, shoot yourself in the foot in the process. Though admittedly the temptation is powerful, we must resolve to remain focused upon the causations of our civilization-wide social, political, and economic woes, and take our focus off fingering the vast, miserable effects. This relates to this idea of people, they're constantly focusing on the effects of the problem. They say, well, it's easier to do that. Yeah, I'm looking at the dead bodies as a metaphor, as an allegory, as an analogy. Dead bodies keep floating down your part of the river, right? And you're pissed off. You say, I don't like to have to drag these bodies out of the river. So you walk upstream and you think you're going to the cause of these people that are committing suicide, or they're just careless and reckless and falling in the river, and you're going to go and you're going to tell them what's what, right? Stop doing it. Then you find out, no, they're not committing suicide. They're not just falling in the river. They're being pushed in the river. This is this whole idea there, these people that are creating the poverty, the desperate poverty that makes people want to kill themselves, that makes people want to commit crimes. They say anybody that would live by the rules of this fixed game, this rigged game, is a fool. Right? And so they commit crimes. So that's the record. The body's floating down the river. They're costing the taxpayers all this money. That's who it is. The causers of Federal Reserve Bank, the money masters of misery, and all their sycophantic, high-ranking political minions that go along with the program. That's who's causing all our problems, these grand puppeteers. Okay, that's who it is. So stop blaming the effects. It's not the people, the dead bodies, but it wasn't their fault. They didn't fall in the river. They didn't kill themselves. Blame those that are pushing them in the river, for crying out loud. Blame and judge correctly. These problems we have are being caused by deliberation, by intent. They want poverty. This is how they have a stranglehold on it. This gives them the greater sense of security. This gives them the sense of power over others, okay? The control over others. This is their way out of fear. They don't fear God. They fear the God of this world, not having the God of this world, the money, the power that goes with it. Though admitted, a rhetorical question. Of these two choices, which is the best attitude to adopt? Number one, to abandon conscience because it keeps nagging us. Or number two, embrace conscience knowing it is what our owner desires. And of course, what our owner desires, doing what our owner desires, is what is going to bring us to freedom, bring us happiness, bring us security. Okay, so even if we have to defy the establishmentarians of this beast system unto death, we're 100% better off than those that compromise or flat out go along with it, head over heels, revel in it overtly, okay? 100% better off. Go with the conscience that God gave you as a default. Rely on that as a fail-safe, please. When speaking of someone whom has moved on, aka died, it is critical that we think and speak of them properly. For example, we tend to think of the dead as no longer existing and refer to them accordingly by speaking of them in the past tense with terms like were, they were, a term which infers past and non-existent state, a past non-existent state, which is not the case according to Scripture. That's right. To God, all are alive. You can't really die. Okay, your body can die. Okay, but the rest of you, the invisible part of you, the real part of you, your true essence, okay, the marrow of your essence is your soul, and that's something that carries on. Your heart and your mind, your spirit, all those things are safely ensconced in the hands of God, all of us. Okay, so even the evildoers, they live forever, but they've got to go to other place where they're better off not to be alive, like it's written. God's going to destroy them, not destroy them in the sense of not existing, but destroy the evil within them. And then there's not going to be any substance left. So he's like starting all over again, like new babes to be reincarnated or something. I don't know how it all works. I don't know all the intricacies of how God works, but I know he's very fair, and there's no way I can imagine a more fair and just way to do it than to separate the sheaves from the goats. Like he says it's going to happen. The wicked from the righteous. It's not fair for the righteous to have to be bullied around by the wicked in perpetuity. So that's when he puts